It's Wednesday. It's 2 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock on the West Coast, and that means at FoxNews.com Freedom Watch. Welcome to this Strategy Room session. For the next hour, we will analyze what the government has done to, for, and with your freedom. We will do so with my colleagues Tracy Burns from the Fox Business Network, Peter Schiff, who's one of the great defenders of the free market in our modern day, and who's the president of Euro-Pacific Capital, my good buddy Cody Willard, who's the host of Happy Hour, the only live cable television show broadcast from a bar, and joining us in this hour, my good friend and one of the staunchest defenders of the Constitution and anybody in the government today, Congressman Ron Paul, who joins us by telephone. Congressman Paul, welcome here.
Thank you. Good to be with you again.
Did anybody read, or did anybody have an opportunity to read the 1,000-page stimulus package? And as Peter Schiff points out, the only thing it has stimulated so far is the price of gold. Did anybody have a chance to read it before you were forced to vote on it?
Oh, yeah, certainly. The 20 people who wrote it, the 10 in the House and the 10 in the Senate who were involved, and actually a lot of other people read it too, and because they emailed it to me and told me they had copies that I couldn't get. The lobbyists got hold of it. So if you were a conservative and had conservative friends, or a liberal working on this thing, you send it to your liberal friends. And the banking industry sent my staff 130 pages of the bill. And I had no access to it. So no, when I think your question really is, did any members of Congress really read that bill? It was over 1,000 pages. No, they did not. They didn't have the chance. It didn't become available till 12:30 after midnight the night before, and there were no hard copies. And the hard copy that was sitting on the desk, they had several copies there. They had a lot of handwriting up and down the edges, which they considered still the official document that would be eventually printed.
Before we get to Peter and Cody and Tracy, who I know want to interact with you as well, just on the mechanics, how does it come about that things can be put in there which were never articulated on the floor of the House or on the floor of the Senate, like $33 million for American Samoa to compensate for no minimum wage there? Little things that members of Congress wanted as favors to them or certain perceived constituencies, like retroactive caps on executive compensation for deals with banks that were already cut. How do those things physically become law?
Well, if it gets in the conference report, it becomes law. The conference, which is the part that's very secretive, they used to never even have votes in the conference. That is the final version, and only a few people participate in the conference. But they can put things in. Technically, the conference was set up like if the Senate had a proposal for $10 million and the House for $5 million, they would split the difference, and that would be what the conference did. But now the conference, and it's been done this for years, this is nothing new, this is business as usual. They use the conference for putting in the controversial things. And like, for instance, the increase in the national debt was buried in there. It was never in either of the House or the Senate bill. So we raised the national debt by $787 billion, the same amount that the bill was for. So that is ongoing. It's unfortunately the way they legislate in Washington. But even back in the 80s, when on my prior tour of duty in Washington, I would complain about this. But it's just government out of control and the special interest control. The fact that the special interest in the lobbyists can get the bill and review it before the members of Congress, and I'm sitting there and I'm telling my staff, you get that and tell me exactly when we have access to the bill. And it's available to outsiders, and that's who runs the show in Washington. It's very deceptive to think the members of Congress either care or know or could participate even if they wanted to.
Do you think that this bill was in the works long before the market crisis that Peter Schiff predicted became apparent to the rest of us in September? Do you think that the bill was an effort to get the camel's nose under the tent in order to make it more natural for the federal government to regulate things like medical records, health care, and health treatment?
Yeah, those programs were always in the bill. In this case, the Democrats, the opportunity. It sort of reminds me about the Patriot Act. All that stuff had been printed before. The crisis comes along. Oh, it's an opportunity. Even Rahm Emanuel, said that rather bluntly the other day. Don't ever let an emergency go to waste. So, no, they use the atmosphere for this whole purpose to get the things that they want. I think most of those programs, they know themselves, have very little to do with the immediate problem. Even if they understood any economics at all, they would realize that they're not solving the problem at all. Every time they come up with a new package, the market goes down, and like Peter says, gold goes up. It's a stimulus package for a big government, nothing else.
Cody?
Ron Paul, it's a real thrill to talk to you again. Representative Paul, I should say, thank you so much for letting me. And I guess here's the question. I actually read through 700 pages out of that 1,000 the pages that finally got done, and I couldn't follow. It would reference to prior laws that you need to forget certain paragraphs of, and you substitute $30 million in the place of $5 million in paragraph F. And what I start to look at is the complexity of it all.
No, you can't. Just by
What's
reading
the end
it,
game?
You'd have no idea. You'd have to have the code sitting by and know what the current code says, because what they might do is say strike line ABC,
Right.
3 lines here, and insert this. So it has no meaning unless you have the original code. So I am quite convinced that when you look at the staffers, there's probably no one person that knew the entire bill. There were a group of staffers that would go together and work on certain sections. But that is very, very...
Can I follow that up?
Yeah, but I want to tell you this. This is a trick that the government uses all the time.
Right.
You are talking to one of the few people that's read the Patriot Act. It's only 315 pages long, but it takes 25 or 30 hours to read because you have to have the full U.S. Code in front of you, since much of it consists of technical modifications and statutes that already
So
exist.
the whole thing is so
Peter.
ridiculous that what they should have, it should be that you can't pass a bill that you can't write on one sheet of paper.
Right.
I mean, how can people vote for stuff when they obviously have no idea what they're voting for?
Well, and
No, but, and I have to be a panelist and not a reporter now, because my opinion of this is the audacity of crap. Like, the nerve that these guys had to sit there and say, oh, by the way, I want to throw this in. Oh, by the way, I need extra money for the census. Oh, by the way, we need a grant for elderly nutrition services, including Meals on Wheels. Oh, by the way, I think we should throw some money in for tribal law enforcement. What the heck is that? Tribal law enforcement. Here we go. Mississippi River and tributary construction. It is crap on top of crap on top of crap. And I will argue that this $787 billion crap is completely unnecessary. If Tim Geithner had come out of the gate with a plan, that would have been enough to free up credit, got the markets moving, and capitalism would have reigned supreme. This audacity of crap would not have been necessary.
Cody.
But don't
Can I
just
throw it
just
back?
criticize.
I want
Hang on,
to
Peter. Go
throw
ahead,
it back
Cody.
to Representative Paul, if I could. And I guess two things we're highlighting here is really all we want is the government to enforce contract law. We've been playing by the rules here, and we simply want those rules enforced and not this anarchy that we seem to be on the slippery slope of. And Representative Paul, I guess the question is the magnitude of this. That's what I come back to. This is so the size, $1 trillion that we're talking about here, off and on every other week that the government is confiscating. Have you ever seen anything like this?
No, I mean, this is the biggest and the worst ever. Of course, we had the biggest bubble, and they feel panicked that they have to do something. But, in the middle of all this is some good news, because...
What, Trey, is the good news, Congressman
The
Paul?
good news is that they are going to collapse the dollar system, and they have to give up. You just can't pay bills by printing money. That comes to an end. So the empire will come to an end, and the domestic spending will come to an end, and we'll have
How
to
is that
start over.
good
The
news,
bad
sir?
news is are we going to get something worse, or will we be able to salvage it and restore some confidence in our Constitution? That's really the only question. But this will end.
Well-
They don't realize how quickly they're destroying the whole system.
Right,
The
let me-
dollar system is what is at stake now. The financial system has been destroyed. The dollar system, people will still use dollars, but I don't think for a lot longer.
Let me remind those of us that are visiting with us that you can email us at strategyroom, one word, strategyroom@foxnews.com. And in the last 15 minutes of the show, when we go through our Freedom Watch section, what money is the government taking from you? What junkets of members of Congress